Welcome back everyone to today's video. We're going to be doing your November weather forecast. I know we are a couple of days into November already, but we are going to have your weather forecast for the next, or the rest of the month in this video. We're also going to have a full winter forecast coming up pretty soon as well, so stay tuned for that one. That will be out pretty soon. So obviously that's going to be a big video. We'll have one of them pretty soon, and then we'll have one at the end of the month to see if everything is still looking the same. Anyway, we've seen some pretty interesting charts over the last couple of weeks, and especially this week. I know we haven't had any videos out, but there has been some very interesting charts popping up for later on this month, and we are going to show you what is going on today with them charts. So we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to get into this. We're going to start off with just showing you the GFS 12Z. This doesn't go out to the end of the month, but it is just a little bit of a look what might happen this month. We've got a new mic today, so hopefully it's working alright. Tell me in the comments if it's not. Right, so this is the current situation. If you didn't already know, high pressure is the yellows, oranges and reds. Low pressure is the blues and purples. We're currently sitting under high pressure. Winds are in from the southwest, mild and unsettled. As we go throughout this week, it's looking pretty unsettled, but we are going to get the high pressure building in a little bit, but it doesn't really get anywhere. Pretty mild as well for the time of year, but as we go into later parts of this week, you can see high pressure retrogressing up towards Greenland. And this is a sign we look for in the winter because we get high pressure blocked over Greenland, we get low pressure dropping over Europe, and we get into them northerly winds. So high pressure over Greenland retrogressing is a sign. If you see it in the autumn or early winter, it's a sign it could continue throughout the winter. So we are seeing that on the charts today, some retrogression towards Greenland. Anyway, we do stay pretty mild under the high pressure, maybe a little cooler with winds in from the east as we go up towards the 20th of November, maybe a bit of frost and fog. Bit of doom and gloom just there. Up to the end of the month, we're looking like that. High pressure is actually starting to retrogress towards Greenland. This low pressure here is charging it up there, and high pressure will end up going up there in the extended range. We can't show you that though. Low pressure will probably drop in, and we'll probably go very cold at the end of that run, but that's as far as we go. And upper air temperatures, once again, cold air is starting to build over Greenland and the Arctic as well. But we are looking very mild throughout this run at the moment anyway. Okay, so that was the 12Z. I'm going to show you the GFS ensembles now, based on that 12Z run. These are the ensembles from the GFS. Let's just get the drawer thing up. There we go. The red line is the 30-year average from 1991 to 2020. This is for London, by the way, and this is the 850 HPA temperatures and precipitation anomalies. We're currently sitting above average, as you can see, but as we go into the second half of the month, we get much more mix, and we even have a run going down to -10 upper air temperatures, which is very cold. A bit of an outlier once again, but it's all to play for in the second half of this month. Anyway, well, mid to second half of this month. I've got the AO and the NAO to show you now. So this is the Arctic oscillation. So if we are in a positive phase, the line will be around here, and that signifies we've got westerlies and low pressure over the Arctic. If we are in a negative phase like we are in now, and like we're going to be over the next couple of weeks, it signifies that there's high pressure blocking over the Arctic, and there's a more high pressure than usual sitting over the Arctic. So that's a sign of blocking and a possible sign for colder conditions too. So, well, we're not actually negative at the moment. We are up here at the minute. It's quite strongly positive, but we are going to go negative with more blocking over the next couple of weeks. The NAO, which is the same as we just talked about, but now for the North Atlantic. So more towards Greenland and that sort of area. We are looking, once again, we're positive at the minute, we are looking negative. Maybe a bit more neutral towards mid-month, but we are going negative over the next couple of weeks. Anyway, so good signs for colder weather, I should say. Now we're going to have the ECMWF pressure anomalies, the weekly ones. Let me see if I can get the date on the screen for it. No, that's too... we'll leave it like that. So this is week 1 from the ECM WF ensembles. We have got high pressure over and to the east of the country, and we have got some blocking around Greenland. Low winds are in from the southwest. That's the 3rd to the 10th of November. This is the week 2, the 10th to the 17th of November. Very, very interesting. High pressure blocking over Greenland, low pressure over Europe and to the south around Spain and Portugal. We're looking very cold for that one. That is the 10th to the 17th of November. We'll look at that on more of a wider basis and look at the blocking area. I mean, the blocking area is there of high pressure is there in week 1 over the Arctic and over Greenland, but just look at that, a huge blocking area of high pressure over Greenland, Iceland and northern latitudes. We've dropped the low pressure in. Winds originating from Siberia near the Arctic up there, very, very cold if that just come off. Well, that's mid-month in it, about that. Anyway, week 3 is the 17th to 24th of November. Once again, we keep the block there. Low pressure's dropped in over Scandi, and we're in from the north. Winds are in from the north once again. We'll look at that on the more northern hemisphere basis. Once again, huge blocking area, high pressure. Low pressure to east winds in from the north. Once again, if this happened in January, it would be very, very cold. But as we are only in November, it depends how much cold is over Scandinavia and Siberia. It probably won't be that cold just yet. And the last week we're going to look at is the 24th of November to the 1st of December. Not much of a signal really, so I'm not going to go much depth into that. But the signal is there's probably going to be high pressure there. Low pressure drops in here, probably going to be cold once again. Maybe we're trying to go a bit milder off the west, or this high pressure here might turn us a little bit milder, but overall it still looks pretty chilly. Once again, on a wider basis, it is very, very blocked once again over the Arctic and over Greenland. Very, very interesting charts today. Anyway, that is the chart part of the video. I'm going to give you my forecast now. So give me a second. Okay, so we've got Terry Scully's November forecast now. And then after we've read this out, I will do my forecast. So this is what Terry Scully is thinking for the month of November 2025. The month will certainly begin on an unsettled note, with the first week generally being mild or very mild, but wet at times, especially in the north and west. In a blustery period, the north and west will also see the strongest winds, with the remnants of ex-Hurricane Melissa giving a somewhat stormy interval here briefly. Temperatures will be above normal. It could feel quite balmy and quite mild for a time, especially in the south and east. The second week should begin in much the same fashion, but high pressure may exert its influence briefly, which could bring a drier, less milder or somewhat colder interval, with the risk of patchy fog and slight night frosts. Although by mid-month it'll probably have turned milder once again, breezier and unsettled, especially in the north and west. The third week brings uncertainty, but as the month progresses there should be a trend for the polar vortex to buckle. This will cause the Atlantic depressions to move in from the northwest rather than the southwest, diving lows suggesting a colder trend. Indeed, towards the end of November it could turn cold enough for some snow, especially on hills and in the north, but even to lower levels is possible depending where the air originates from. Once again, night frost will be more widespread and quite sharp in places. Now, we're just going to talk about the average temperatures. So October was, at the current state of warming, saw mean average temperatures between 1.5 degrees and 2 degrees above normal. The first 10 days or so November will be very mild, but this should be compensated to some extent by the colder intervals towards the end of the month. Rainfall and sunshine should be around average this month, with some patchy fog and mist in areas, and some drier and sunnier conditions are possible. But once again, there is a chance of some colder conditions, especially near the end of the month. Right, so that was Terry Scully's November forecast, but now I'm going to do mine. Just give me a second. Okay, so this is Weather Elliot's November forecast. Personally, I'm thinking that once again, this first week is looking pretty unsettled and quite mild. As we go towards mid-month, around the 13th to 15th of October, I'm expecting high pressure to take control and possibly retrogress towards Greenland, and low pressure might dive south over Europe, bringing us some cooler weather, pretty chilly with some night frosts and maybe a bit of winteriness on the hills in the middle of the month. I think around the 18th of November we could have a little bit of a milder spell once again, with lows coming in off the Atlantic. But I do think towards the end of the month, with the blocking signals and negative AO and NAO we are seeing, there's a high chance that we do get some colder northerlies, northeasterlies, or easterly winds coming in. It might not be overly cold at this time of year, as there's not much cold over Europe at the moment, or Scandinavia, or even Siberia. But if we do start to build a bit more of a cold pool over Europe towards mid-November, I think late November could be quite cold for us, a bit like last year. So that is my thoughts on this November. For the rest of the winter, my thoughts are a bit more interesting, a bit different to recent years. But that will be for another video, for our first full winter forecast, which will be out over the next couple of days. Anyway, that's what November's looking like. We will obviously come back to this. We'll put a mention in one of the videos, maybe in the winter forecast at the end of the month, to see if it did actually come off, what I'm thinking. But that is my thoughts for November 2025. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Stay tuned for the winter forecasts. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And that's all for me. Goodbye.